into your reading. I've already pre-shuffled, so let's begin. I'm gonna read the feel for you. We'll see what comes through. As always, I've got Justice, I've got Six of Cups, I've got a Knight of Swords, I got an Eight of Wands, a Nine of Swords, Queen of Pentacles, Four of Swords, Seven of Wands, underlying energy, Knight of Wands. I'm picking up on a very fast moving energy. Also very, you could feel a lot of attention on you right now because the energy is directed towards you. Can you tell me more? With the star beneath, that actually just clarifies a question I had in my head I wanted to ask. Your energy is being recognized as very soothing. Kind of like medicine. So of course this is me reading for the empaths, the like highly sensitive healers, however you describe yourself or however you have yourself witnessed this happening. So it can be like, you know, just random people sharing their life stories with you, sharing depth with you without you even having to pull it out of them. It can also you being sort of the therapist of your family or of friend groups, or just naturally being able to tell people what they need to hear. So this is of course a beautiful quality with the Queen of Cups. It's just confirming what I'm picking up for, who this reading is for. This is a beautiful quality to have, of course. What's interesting is that I'm reading for, like this reading is for someone who has already come to terms with how it can negatively affect you. So it's sort of like a skilled empath, I want to say, someone who has already, it feels to me like you've already, well, I'm hearing you've already gone through, like I heard edges. There's something around you having already sort of come to your limit or come to the edges of what you can do with it so that it doesn't drain you, and where also you need to pull back. So yeah, now I'm getting in a loop like a highly skilled empath. So it's not so much the beginning stages of you anymore. You've already come to terms with your gifts for one, but also learned to set necessary boundaries so that you're not taking advantage for them. So anyway, the way it began is a lot of attention. There's a lot of tension around you. There's a lot of attention directed towards you. This can also feel like people tugging and pulling at you, which actually came through in the Patreon reading just yesterday, where I break that down even more. So you may feel drawn, to do deeper work. So that is all on Patreon within the Sanctum. For now, for the spread, I am seeing how it looks like you're learning or have learned that just because there's attention directed towards you, or even pulling at your energy, wanting to be within your space, wanting to be around you because of these soothing qualities, because you are like medicine, doesn't mean that you need to give everyone access. And this can sound very like, of course I don't have to, but for the way you're structured and the way empaths are structured and the way your trajectory usually begins, there's usually a pattern that plays out where you are very giving, you're very loving, you're very compassionate, to the point where you ultimately end up feeling discarded, taken advantage of at one point in your life. And then that is a sort of initiation, because it teaches you boundaries. It teaches you exactly this. You don't have to give access to everyone just because they want to be around you, just because they want that soothing energy. doesn't mean you have to freely give it to them. So you yourself can gauge where you're at if you've already gone through these trial and errors, if you still feel like, no, you're super like in your people-pleasing tendencies where you have a hard time saying no, you're always on call for people, you're always processing something for other people, even to the point where you may be taking on responsibility for problems that are not yours. All of that, again, if you want to go deeper into this work and learn how to use this skill set for your own benefit, you will definitely benefit from the Sanctum on Patreon. And you can always just visit, you can go from the beginning there and just go through the readings. So looks like I'm drawing the right people, because this is going to reach you, it has to. Let's just break down the spread a bit more and why this is coming up for you right now, or why you need to maybe be more aware of exactly what is going on. It looks like within romantic relationships, so even if you feel like you've mastered this trait, or you've mastered like, yeah, I know exactly where I need to pull back, I know where my limits are, I know how much I can give without feeling drained, I know, and I can recognize that even though people want access to me, I don't need to freely give it. Okay, it looks like within romantic relationships, this is still a little bit wobbly, like kind of on, it looks like there's still a tendency of getting pulled in more strongly. Again, another reading on Patreon that just came through, where we break down specific dynamics where this is occurring. Here, yeah, just as a general, there's a tendency of getting pulled in where, due to, I guess, being emotionally involved. And when you're emotionally involved, you're sometimes, it's hard to keep level-headed, and it's sometimes hard to recognize where you are overextending or where you're overgiving, especially if that is so much in your nature. So I just want to know a bit more why this is coming through. Interesting. It looks like what's going to help you within romantic relationships where there is a tendency of getting overly involved due to you feeling attached, or being sort of, emotions or feelings that being involved. What you need to look out for is exactly this with the 10 of Swords and the 9 of Pentacles, where you are being valued and where you feel like you're being discarded. So in other words, where do you feel like, okay, if I process with someone, if I'm like there for them, if I, give them access to my time and energy, and then they just take what they can and then kind of shut down or just leave me hanging. That will then, within your body, can feel like a mini betrayal, or you can just feel like I'm not really valued here, like it can leave you feeling confused, it can leave you feeling like, wait, what just happened? I gave so much of my time and I don't really get anything in return. So that, of course, is going to be a clear indicator that you may just want to sort of take inventory and rethink if you really want to give so much of your time and energy into that specific dynamic, or if you want to pull back a bit. And then you will have opposite currents, or you will feel the opposite within dynamics where you feel very valued for your time and energy, where you can sense it's like there's a sort of give and take. They may have qualities that you also really value. They may, with the Strength card out, this can look like, for some reason I'm getting specifically a dynamic here with someone who really likes being sort of in the spotlight, like they like having attention, and you may be more of like more contained. You may like being more, it's a specific dynamic coming through. It's like two oddballs that make a good match though, because one's strength is to be out, to be like talking to people, networking, making contacts. And then I saw like, which I felt like was more who I'm reading for, is like a bit, contained. You may be more quiet, you may be more like in the background, and you have a different purpose, but the like your strengths and weaknesses balancing each other out, and there you're gonna feel valued. You're not gonna feel like, oh, I'm just the person to call up, and then they hang up when they feel better, and they go hang out with other people. Like that's specifically what you need to look out for, or like that you don't become a person's regulator, where they just literally just call you up sort of as a free therapist, and then when they feel better they get on with the day. Because that is gonna, that can be really draining, and with time you may even feel resentment, not even towards one specific person. It can just kind of hit you one day where you just feel really like, what the hell have I been doing? Like, I've been giving out so much of my time and energy that other people just walk off with, and then when I need when I need that back, can be oftentimes. This would also look like when you are down bad and you may need someone, or you may need support, and you just can't reach out to anyone. That's usually sort of the breaking point or part as well, that can lead to very different outcomes in your life when you reach that point where you just kind of have enough, or you then start realizing, okay, you can't blame anyone, you need to adapt how accessible you are. So it looks like, the collective I read for Nia is moving through this. I do see, I'm just picking up on like different energies within the spectrum. I'm picking up on sort of beginning stages, in the sense of like still very, like I was describing to you, a lot of people pleasing tendencies, hard time saying no, like sort of having people being overpowering with their will and what they want you to do and what they want to use you for. And then the other end of the spectrum is being already quite like cutthroat and really protective of your own space and energy, and even to the point where it's really hard to be to access you in one shape or form. Like, you're really closed off. But with the Four of Swords, the other end of the spectrum, this looks like this gives you sort of peace, gives you peace of mind, and it gives you, I'm hearing like that it makes you feel like you have control over your life, which is a question or is a prompt for yourself if that's really the case though, or if you are just isolating yourself and closing yourself off from connections. Because there's this like, I know people easily get like, whether it's obsessive over me, or like they're just like even possessive. This is like wanting to gatekeep you, not wanting to share you with other people. For some reason that is coming through. But also they're just like, wanting to like, feeling entitled to your time and energy. That's another thing to look out for. So again, you will know for yourself where you're at on this spectrum. I want to read for those that are at the end, that are like super protective of their own energy to the point where you may be isolating. Yeah, exactly there. You might be exactly who is or has met someone who sort of brings you out of your shell, or is like, has a very opposing energy to you, where instead of being a wallflower, they're very outgoing and they're very out there, and they may sort of have an infectious energy that brings you, I'm getting like brings you out of, they can bring you out of your shell, and that can feel overwhelming. And here I'm just getting advice to pace yourself, like take your time to open up, especially if you have been sort of closed and you haven't been letting a lot of people into your life or into your space, exactly because of these qualities that you do have, and you've already gone through those trials and errors of like how much you can give and how not, being taken advantage, just what we talked about. So it's sort of like black cat energy I'm getting as well for some reason, like, which matches what I picked up on already with like, I was just getting a person very contained, not that you're not approachable, but you're just not easily accessible. And that also, of course, can make you seem more, that can give off like a mysterious vibe, even if you're not donning for that or trying to be like that. It can just give off a sort of, yeah, like a mysterious vibe. People will be more likely to project their ideas onto you than actually know what you're about or what you do or who you are. So you may as well have just come to terms with that, because I'm not really getting any like friction or tension about that. What I am sensing is that you are or have attracted a connection that is challenging. Yeah, it's sort of challenging because they seem to be able to lower your guard just by, it's also like a sunshine. I'm getting like a sunshine, someone who's a very bright energy, very strong energy as well. And with the Emperor out, it looks like, yeah, this is gonna be someone you even like may naturally submit to, because you trust their leadership qualities and you trust that they can. It's like, it's very interesting. Let me tell me more. What's really standing out to me is that they can bring something out of you that you has been closed down, is like watered. And I just had the Empress land on the Emperor, so it actually could be that you really like, as well, we've been foreshadowing this on, it has been coming through on Patreon, about some within the collective really starting to like vibrate at that frequency where you're gonna be experiencing what divine love feels like, what it feels like to be within a dynamic where the feminine and masculine energies are very balanced, not only within like between the both of you, but also within each of you. So it looks like that's where this is headed. So again, I was reading on different people being on different parts of the spectrum. This is as well like the highly skilled, evolved empath that has already gone through a big chunk of trial and errors and has already learned a lot about how to manage your energy. So all of you on the spectrum are gonna find something on Patreon. I do wanna stress that again, because depending where you're at, it's gonna help you to just learn how to navigate, and even how to use your skills that you do have for a better life, to create a better life for yourself. I'm gonna keep moving on the spread. I just had a 10 of Wands fly out, 9 of Swords, Queen of Pentacles, 8 of Wands, and 9 of Swords. What is this about? Yeah, I'm just getting like even wanting to gatekeep your own energy. You have a lot of options that like want to build with you. Like you're gonna wanna be just aware of that as well, because I feel like this is where you're a little bit oblivious, where you're not really recognizing how much are generally interested in building you or see you as like someone they could build with. And I have the Ace of Wands and the King of Swords sideways, so it's like you don't fully trust that, or you don't really see it, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing per se. I mean, it can, just be that you're just not really clocking it, or you're just oblivious to it, or you're playing down on purpose until someone like overtly tells you, yeah, like I want you, I want to build with you, I want you to be part of my life, which again is not a bad thing. But if you are really unconscious of it, what can happen is exactly that you just get pulled into dynamics that you may not want to be any part of, just because they are interested in you or they see the value in having you on the team, so to speak. So I got like gatekeeping yourself, which may not resonate with everyone. You may not want to like close yourself off. And you may also have this is more like the first wave of like still very giving, over giving. Yeah, like I want to talk to everyone, I want to help everyone. It's a beautiful quality. You will find out for yourself where your limits are. I'm not worried about that. It's just some of you within the spectrum I've been reading for are learning that it's okay to not always be accessible. It's okay to not answer every bloody phone call you get. It's okay to say no when the same friend is wanting to mull over the same relationship problems they have that you've already talked to them about 3-4 times. They're not listening, they're not doing anything else. Is that it is okay, and even the most loving thing to do, to take a step back and let them go through and learn it in their own pace. even if you do see what's happening, even if you do see exactly where it's headed, this is also part of what you are learning or need to learn, is to, I keep getting that word, to take a step back and just allow people to learn and make their own mistakes. Even if it hurts you to see them in pain, or it hurts you to see them make choices that they could be better, they deserve better, but this is as well part of like where you start moving on the spectrum, is if you can let people be and also not slip into a role where you become the fixer and you sort of become the savior, which interestingly enough, oftentimes you do this because on some level you like the feeling of being needed. It even can make you feel like you're being loved or you're being appreciated or valued, which came through here with the Nine of Pentacles, which is not always the case though. You may think that's what is happening, but this is just where to be a little bit, just become more aware if that is really the case, or if you're just like being needed, if it gives you purpose to like be needed. It's a bit difficult in the sense because all of you also have a different threshold. Some can take, can do this day in and day out, and it even energizes you and it exactly gives you purpose and you have no issues with it. You don't feel drained. You're just like, I love doing this. I love helping people. Then of course nobody's telling you anything. More what is coming through is for those that do feel like a heavy load. They're carrying a heavy load for everyone else, including their own stuff. Like, you are the ones that were really gonna benefit from the Sanctum, for one, on Patreon, but also just like becoming more aware of where you are taking on other people's stuff, where you don't need to be the person that fixes everything for everyone. And I am hearing it's within your structure. So oftentimes that means that it's not going to change per se. You're always going to feel that need to do that. Or you're always going to feel like it pays off, or it's like your God-given purpose, or this is what you're meant to use your skills for. So if that's part of your structure, it's not about changing who you are at the core, but what I'm getting for you, you may with time recognize and find out how you can use that so it also benefits you. Let's see what else. What happens though, what happens is when you move from the you move along the spectrum where you're very giving, overextending yourself to like sort of super closed off, nobody can access me, like a vault. What happens within the spectrum is a lot of changes within your relationships, because from the beginning to say like the middle bit where you suddenly like you're setting boundaries, you're saying no, you're doing it all without guilt, people that have been taking advantage of you will naturally fall off. If the only reason they were around you is to take, and you suddenly saying no, and that's the only reason they were there, they're not interested in you, they don't really care about you, then they're gonna fall off. So what's gonna help you is to recognize that as well and come to terms with that as you evolve, as your skills evolve, as you also learn to use them for your own benefit, you're gonna go through a lot of relationship changes. And this is where the best thing you can do is learn the art of a detachment. Because if people fall off, if relationships fall off, and it can be heartbreaking, it can be really difficult if it's like a childhood friend, for example, that you may have thought, oh, this person's gonna be with me forever, and then your structure changes in the sense that you become more protective of yourself, you start implementing boundaries. It's really as simple as that, and said person falls off. Of course, part of you may want to cling on to that, but this is where you're gonna save yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of struggle if you can let go in those moments and recognize that it's just a natural course of things. Not everyone can come with you on this path, even the ones that you may want with you the most. You know, like here as well, for some specifically, it's just showing where you are carrying relationships, where you're carrying the whole relationships. And for you as a test, you can test this, is by just pulling back your energy, not constantly being the one initiating, just not calling anymore, not SMS, just like pulling back your energy and see who comes towards you. Because oftentimes within relationships where you were the one carrying the whole weight, what happens exactly is that they either fall away, or you start recognizing, oh, they're only calling me when they want something. They're not calling to ask me how I'm doing. They're not calling me if they can help me with anything. It's all just about them. And I'm just sort of like on standby. So yeah, you're just going to go through a lot of changes there, and it can happen really, really fast as well. And those on Patreon, I've been noticing that as well, because we do group work there as well. So you're kind of like in a wormhole. A lot of work that you would be doing alone, it just kind of amplifies and goes a lot faster within that space, kind of like in a washing machine. So for those of you that are on Patreon and are also watching this reading, this is just another reminder that you will feel a lot of that happening in a very short time span, and it can feel really odd, but it's also a really great sign that you are fundamentally changing for the better, and you are making space and room for new relationships and new connections that are serving who you are now and or who you are becoming. So this is why with time anyway, when you move from the first bit of the spectrum to the lower end, you naturally become very detached, sort of like you don't attach. You may still attach yourself fast, more in romantic relationships that already came through, but when it comes to certain other relationships, or where exactly these dynamics play out, as it like, I'm the therapist, I'm just there to soothe them and help them regulate, and then they go hang out. When they feel better, they hang out with other people, and I'm just left there with like kind of empty-handed. There you're going to notice this the most. So like I already said, if you want to go deeper into this work, it's all on the Sanctum on Patreon. I have the links below, and for personal work you can check out my bio, but my website, you can book in on one-on-one on my website. I have it all linked below as well. And please hit the thumbs up if you resonate. It's like a thank you, an energetic thank you, so to speak, but also it gives me insight as to where we are headed. Like, it kind of helps to pick up on your energy as well moving forward on the readings here. So that is really appreciated. Subscribe if you hasn't subscribed yet, and I will see you very soon. Bye.